Today, we are talking about the limiting beliefs that are holding back Black women leaders, and more importantly, how to release them. These are beliefs that I see come up over and over and over again when I'm working with clients. These are beliefs that I have had to personally work through. And as Black women leaders, there are unique beliefs that we have based off of how we have to live, survive, and thrive in the society. So for those who don't know me, I am Imani Adia, the founder of Soul 360 and creator of the Limitless Method, where I help founders, creatives, and leaders just like you to release, define, and align with their most limitless self. So let's get into today's video. This first belief is either going to draw you in to the point where you watch all the way through, or is going to ruffle your feathers and you are going to log off. It's one of the two. And that belief is you don't have to be twice as good. That is a belief that has been held for too long. It's a belief that leads you on a path to burnout and exhaustion and feeling like you're never enough. It's a path where you overcompensate for your brilliance and the excellence that you already bring to the table. The reason why I believe it's so damaging, right, especially in terms of burnout and exhaustion, is because you are working overtime. And you feel like you have to work overtime to even get an opportunity. And so when you are looking at going up for a job, or you're going up for an opportunity, and they give you the checklist, right, of things that they would want, that means the checklist of those 5 things. If you need to be twice as good or have twice as much, that means you need 10 things on your resume. And either you are a person who is working towards getting those 10 things and delaying yourself the opportunity to step in that opportunity, or you're a person where you just say to yourself, well, I can't even go for this opportunity right now with what I have, even though what you have may be more than enough to actually get the job or to get the position or to be in that opportunity. And so with this belief, I also want to think about who is being centered here and who you are comparing yourself to. And 9 times out of 10, when you're saying this belief, this comparison is based off of the white gaze, and it's centering the white body, or it's centering the white person, and that's the person that you are in comparison with. When the truth is, I think we really have to get to a point in our lives where we are redefining who is centered and allowing ourselves to center ourselves. And if there is a world that does not allow us to be centered, then we have to create it, because if we don't, we will continue to be in this continuous cycle of burnout and exhaustion and feeling like we're not enough. And there is an opportunity for us to stop with it now. Women from the past have showed us that there is possibility in building your own world. Octavia Spencer, Toni Morrison, when it comes to literature. When I think about businesses, I think of Madison J. Walker. I think about Janice Bryan Howard. When I think about artistry, I think about Diana Ross. I think about Beyonce. I think about Aretha. I think about women who have created space for themselves, in part with it being a necessity, and also saying, I'm going to take this leap, I'm going to take this jump, because if I don't, I will always wonder what would have happened, and how we can live our lives taking care of ourselves and being mindful of which path can lead to exhaustion and burnout, and really asking ourselves, is that the path that we want to be on? Because we do have choice and we do have agency, and it's just something that we have to remind ourselves of. The next belief is I can't be too angry, or I can't be too emotional. I really believe that this is a scheme that Todd set up to come to you with it, because when you understand the way that emotions work, and you understand how emotions can be held in your body, when you understand that 80% of autoimmune diseases happen to women, and what these women have in common is that they don't express their anger in a healthy way. These are women who feel like they always have to be nice. These are women who are attaching their duty and their role to their family. These are women who don't express themselves and often put their emotional well-being and their emotional wellness on the back burner and allow other people's emotion to take place before themselves. When you understand that and you look at the research, you say to yourself, The cost of believing this is literally sickness. The cost of believing this is literally people around me, my family, my friends, my team, my community, the people closest to me, the people that love me the most, getting me at my worst. Because I allow anger to then be misplaced. I allow my sadness to then be misplaced. And I pretend as if feeling anger and being emotional is something bad when all of those things are simply emotions. They are meant to be felt and they are telling you something. And we have to start listening to our bodies. And this is something that our elders knew. But because we were told and we believed that we didn't want to be seen as the angry black woman, right? We're being honest. Then we put that smile on our face and we just keep on walking. And I look at how then that there is a lack of space for you to be able to release that in a healthy way, whether that is you being angry or whether that is you crying. And it was something that I believed and learned, right, at a very young age. I understood that at a very young age. And it wasn't until I was able to sit back and say, this doesn't have to be the narrative. This isn't something that I have to believe. I can have moments where I'm angry. I can have moments when I am sad. What I won't allow it to do is I won't allow it to consume me. And I won't let go or release that anger or that sadness in an unhealthy way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take upon myself to learn how to let it go in healthy ways. And that is the game changer. That is how you stay emotionally clear. That's how you stay emotionally well, by leaning into those resources. People will tell me, right, all the time, oh, you must never get angry. You are wrong. I feel anger just like you. I'm a human being. The difference is between me and you. I have tools and resources that allow me to recognize that anger and then release it. And that is the game changer. That is the difference. And so if you haven't been told, you are allowed to be angry and you are allowed to be sad and you are allowed to feel your emotions. And you aren't too emotional. And it's okay for you to feel deeply. I actually believe, and I see it now, that being able to have empathy and to be able to listen and to have that emotional intelligence is what everybody is looking for from a leader right now. People are tired of this authoritarian, from the top down level style of leadership. We want leaders who can listen. We want leaders who will take what we're saying and then turn it into action. And that's a skill that a lot of people in leadership don't have, but it's a skill that you need, especially when you are being pulled in 50 plus 1 million directions. We need leaders that we know will keep us anchored. We need leaders that will get us through the storm, and they will be the eye of that storm. They will go through it calm, cool, and collected. Leaders that we can trust to go with over a cliff. Olivia Pope, very complex character, but you know what she was? A leader that the gladiators would gladly go with over a cliff. Because even in the storm, she was rooted. Even when everything seemed to be going wrong, she was rooted. And her team trusted her enough to go through the storm with her. Which leads us to belief number 3, which is I have to be strong. I think we're at a time when we're redefining what strength is, because the cost of you believing that strength is that you do not cry, you believing that strength looks like you taking it all by yourself and not allowing the weight to be spread anywhere else, you believing that strength is never asking for help. It's hurting and harming you more than it's helping you. You need to redefine what strength looks like for you, and understanding that there's strength in vulnerability, that there is strength in asking for help. There's strength in being vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is where I need to be supported. And of course, that comes with you learning who you can lean on and where you can be supported. But we are meant, right, when we look at history, to be in community with each other. The way that the world has ever moved forward is truly in community. And we are in a time and a space where people would rather you believe that you have to do it alone. But the only way we have truly moved forward, right, with movements is when there was more than one body, when you had people beside you to help you move forward with whatever mission or goal or idea of the world that you all see for yourselves. It happens in community. All of the greats, they were in community with each other. And I think that's what I enjoyed learning about the most as I just continue to read, is how all of these writers and artists and activists and boxers and athletes, right? They were all in community with each other. They saw each other and they knew that they were all doing their own portion to move the world forward and to create a world that they would be proud of actually living in. Not only for their children, but for themselves. The fourth belief that you got to let go because it's so limiting is that you have to be humble. Another scheme. Because the way that we understand that is not in the way of, oh, being humble, of not bragging. It has translated to being humble as never really allowing your light to shine. Or if your light is shining, no one knows that that light is you. There is this lack of visibility. There's this lack of being seen. And I'm personally tired of it because what it does, right, is it downplays your brilliance and it downplays someone else seeing you. Whether that is someone younger than you or whether that's a peer. There is something amazing that happens when we are able to see other people accomplishing their dreams, even if it's not the dream that we have for ourselves. It's amazing when we are able to be in community with people who are just doers and we see them doing. I want to know what you have done because it's inspiring. It's a way for you to inspire others. And so forget being humble because we need more proof of Black women just being simply brilliant. Whether that is you being the person that is leading the marketing campaign, whether that is you being the person that set up this event, whatever the news is, we need to see your existence because we don't see it enough. So this is your year, right, to be seen and to take up space. The fifth and final limiting belief is my worth is tied to my productivity. The cost everything. It's burnout, it's exhaustion, it's not being seen, it's health, it's all the things. Because somewhere along the line, you believe that if you are not working, then you are not worthy. This is a belief that I had to unlearn. When I realized that I carried unworthiness, I was like, this is interesting. When I realized other Black women carried it, I said, this is really interesting. And that's why I label unworthiness as one of the top 6 heavy emotions, which I have a video on the top 6 heavy emotions coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. But yes, unworthiness and your worthiness being tied to productivity. And it's just such a false narrative because you simply existing means that you are worthy. You are worthy of any desire on your heart because it was placed on your heart for a reason. And value and worth is something that we have totally mixed up, even though they're not the same thing. Are you ready to step into that desire that you have on your heart? Maybe there's some work that you need to do. Nobody said success was going to come overnight, and nobody said success would be easy. But the way that you may downplay yourself, the way that you may not allow yourself to rest, the way that you may not care for yourself, the way that you may not celebrate yourself, the way that you may not allow yourself to sit in silence and to sit in a place of creativity because you feel like you always need to be working. And if you're not working, then you're not doing anything. That's so far from the truth. So those are the top 5 limiting beliefs that you need to release. And now we're going to get into one of my favorite parts, which is actually doing the work to release them, right? Step 1, you become aware. Step 2, you release. But before we even go into that, I just want to say one quick thing about why do these beliefs exist and where do they come from? So a lot of the beliefs that we have come from our childhood, ages 0 to 7 years old, where we are like sponges and we are taking everything in, not just based on what we hear, but also what we see, what we witness, what we experience based on how we feel. And so it's really important that we go back to those childhood beliefs and say, what experience did we have? What is it that we took in as children to be true? And if that belief is something that keeps me limited, or does it help me be limitless? And that's a really important question for you to ask yourself. And it's not just about what you witnessed in your home, right? But it's also about what you saw on TV. It's about what you saw in the media. It's about what you heard on the radio. All of those play a factor in the way that you grow up and the way that you understand how the world operates. And so as I talk about that, I also want to highlight systems. And the system that we grow up in, especially in the United States, is a system that doesn't value Black women. It's a system that diminishes the work of Black women. It's a system that tells us to shrink instead of expand. And so when you realize that that is the system that you are living in, it's very important for you to recognize what beliefs that are coming from that system and how they are operating and how they are impacting the way that you are showing up. And so that's just some food for thought of where did these beliefs even come from, and how a lot of these beliefs come from a place where even if they do come from family or from friends, they can come from a place of survival and they come from a place of wanting to keep you safe. I also believe that we have to continue to dream and we have to continue to be present in creating a world that we would also be proud of thriving in and be proud of creating and be proud of actually living in. So I release in 5 steps when I'm using the conscious mind. Step 1 is about naming the imposter. I like to call it the imposter within you. And so when we talk about the imposter within you, it can be the negative Nancy in your head who just have all these limiting beliefs. Step 2 then is about you really getting clear on what this belief is. So negative Nancy will say, oh, you have to be twice as good always, right? And so it's like, okay, now I know what negative Nancy says. Step 3 is about you getting to the root. When is the first time you experienced this? When is the first time that you heard this? When is the first time that you felt in your body, right? This belief, how does this belief hold in your body? And where is it being held? That's really important when we are getting to the root. When you get to the root and it's about the first time that you experience it, it could be an uncle who said, hey, you have to be twice as good. Or it could have been a teacher when you were in the 4th grade, right? That gave a gold star for a kid that was doing half of what you did, but you didn't get that recognition. And so those are just examples of how that can look differently, which moves us on to step number 4, where you have to put that limiting belief on the witness stand and you have to question it. And it really allows you to look at it and ask yourself, is there a different belief for me to believe? And if you're a person where you're like, I can't automatically just go and think the opposite, I do love to have what I call highway beliefs. What are those beliefs that are in between what you believe right now and what it is that you want to believe? So that's something that you can also do. And then the 5th and final step is really you believing something different and allowing yourself to not only affirm that belief, but also confirm that belief. When is that belief true? And I want you to use your subconscious, right? I want you to use your reticular activating system to actually look for the proof of when that belief is happening around you, because it is. And if you don't see the proof, you make the proof, because it is possible. That's what I have for today. But until next time, I'm Imani Adia, and be limitless.